You're ready, Kai. Thank you.
What is a mother? When I was asked to contribute to this Mother's Day celebration, I had a deep negative reaction. Do you think I'm a mother? Is that why they're asking me? Was running through my mind. My answer is absolutely no. I said to myself, I will not contribute. I have nothing to say. Why does one think I have something to say about mothers? But then I thought, maybe I do have something to say. Maybe there are other ways to look at mothers. I shouldn't pass up an opportunity to share. What is a mother? Does giving birth make a person a mother? No, because some people give birth and then place their children with other people who become parents. Does caring for and nurturing a child make a person a mother? No, because people who are called fathers and pamas, like myself, also care for and nurture children and are not mothers. Does a person become a mother as a result of being assigned female at birth, accepting that gender assignment, and caring for and nurturing a child? No, because transgender women who were assigned male at birth also become mothers. Okay, what does it mean to be a mother? Motherhood is something that is created by society, as in the cult of motherhood. Mothers are expected to be self-sacrificing, to place their children first. Mothers often don't have a choice that fathers have about whether or not to spend time caring for their children. They are expected and required to. While fathers can let their wives do the work of childcare and still be socially respected as fathers, sort of. Pamas get to define their parenthood, but like myself, have been subject to some of the conditioning pressures that mothers are subject to because of society's mistaken assumptions about us. Mothers are expected to place their child before themselves, work hard to care for their children, often with no time off and no time to rest, yet society tells them that they're not working. And after years of all this not working, they're placed last in the job market and suffer more poverty as seniors. But once a day, once a year, we like to celebrate them on Mother's Day. I do honor my own mother. In spite of doing all that not working while holding a job outside the home and earning far less than my father and being devalued for the gender she was assigned at birth, she maintained the humanity in my family. My father was allowed to retreat from parenting, but still got to parent through my mother vicariously. My mother taught me how to keep loving through pain and anger and disillusionment. My mother showed me how to maintain love, care, and kindness by continuing to love. Only, she also blamed me and claimed that somehow I made my daughter transgender. She told me I couldn't be non-binary because she knew me better than I knew myself. She claimed me heart and soul and refused to actually see me. She stole me from myself. I have very mixed feelings toward my mother. Is motherhood a black hole which sucks things in, women, children, integrity, and never lets them go? Or is motherhood a gift and a power to create and shape and care? Since a mother is a person who experiences motherhood and may or may not have had a choice about becoming a mother, does she have a responsibility to let her children grow freely into themselves? Motherhood was projected onto me like a false gender assignment. Society conditioned and pressured me to try to force my daughter to be something that went completely against her nature as well. If society pins you in like an insect on a board, then why wouldn't you tend to pin your children in and make them in the image that you imagine or that society requires? Maybe if we as a society supported mothers and all those who provide and nurture and care with more respect, financial support, childcare, appreciation, sharing of the work, privileging of that work, then mothers would be better able to support children to grow freely into themselves. Celebrating Mother's Day once a year is not enough.
Thanks, Kai. And thanks wherever you are, Heather. Heaven.
Salmon arm, really.
Salmon arm. Whoopsie, that was too loud. So when I was asked, what does Mother's Day mean to me, I was like, wow, how am I going to do this? What is it going to sound like? So I agree with much of what's been said. I will go through what I've written, and I'm worried about time.
It's okay.
5 minutes?
Do your thing. We can always cut something else.
Okay. So the question is, my mother, your mother, all our mothers, all our parents, and me as mother. And just to say that this is a tribute to my mom, who endured a life of feeling shame and being displaced. A little history, not about me. The Greeks and Romans held festivals in honor of the mother goddesses Rhea and Sibylla, but the nearest modern precedent for Mother's Day is the early Christian festival known as Mothering Sunday. That's the fourth Sunday in Lent, and it was originally seen as a time when the faithful would return for a special service to their mother church, the main church in the vicinity of their home. The recent commercialization of Mother's Day has demeaned its original purpose. More recently, and this is a little bit about the history of what became commercialization, in 1907 in the US, a memorial was held for one woman by her daughter. Other women's groups in the US followed this practice, then a creeping commerce grew around it as a sentimental journey. Expectations of a parent can be positive or negative. Family members, sometimes friends, are anything but supportive in comments about how you should blah, blah, blah in child rearing. The comments may be meant to be teaching and passing on knowledge, but based on how the relationship has unfolded between the two people, that will determine how they or we receive these comments. Being a mother, parent, is not a simple relationship to others. If we're lucky, there might be another parent or aunt, uncle, friend who we can lean on for support. Some of us may regret the association, we may be regret associated with our own mother. In my own life, I lived with my birth mother, but rarely did we have honest talk about my beginnings. I knew that she loved and cared about me, but she didn't demonstrate it in the way I needed it. There's a lot more I could say about that. Shame encircled Mum, and we moved to Canada to help her escape the nastiness around having a babe out of wedlock. It seems ridiculous, but it did affect me as well. However, good news, 3 weeks ago, I reconciled with my mother on a pilgrimage to Bristol in the UK and the site of my birth. Although Mum died 9 years ago, it was a profound experience for me. A major letting go. I've been changed by that. I was involved with other groups that mothers and parents belong to. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, because another young brother was killed by a drunk driver. I spent years involved with that. Mums Stop the Harm. I have a friend whose grandson died of an overdose of drugs. These are parents in action to make cultural change. I had the honor of being with a number of mothers in labor. I was a prenatal class teacher and what's called a docent now, birthing of children and watching the parents' delight and fright at what now? Mothers on pedestals, if we or they or you are on a pedestal, it's a long way down and it can be a real tumble at the bottom. Mothers are often seen with a double standard, and some of what Kai has said is what I'm referring to here too. There are powerful demands of parents and mothers, and the labor of guiding a child that all parents experience can be grueling. Mothers have been living up to or struggling to match expectations of the culture in which they live, and our Western culture has a mixed response and loose bond with the mother-parent. Parenting can be joyful. For me, it was. I love children. I told you about my young brother. I had 2 of them, but the one I didn't live with much. He was born just about the time I left home. For me, love and caring for another human has been a wonderful time for me. The light in a child's eyes, energetic sounds of growth are delightful. The topic of mothering parenting is supposed to be upbeat, but we know it can be fraught with hidden pitfalls. Feelings of being disconnected for me happened when I had 3 young ones at home, and I used to go out walking with them, and because we moved quite a bit when my kids were young, I didn't know people in the neighborhood, and I'd walk out with the kids and look over the fences to see where the childhood toys were, and then I knew where the young parents were, or grandparents. Some of us have, and we've talked about this, ambivalent response and relationship to our own mother. Some of us did not grow up with mother, as mentioned by Kai. Every day could be Parents' Day, the most important family job in my mind. How we nurture our offspring influences and assures the outcome of communities in our larger society. In my lifetime, there have been changing times in child rearing, beliefs and ideas about what child rearing should be. I grew up with spare the rod and spoil the child, so I got smacked quite a bit. Medical model came next. Cleanliness, above all, was important, but as an example of how it didn't work, this medical model, orphans were kept immaculately clean in orphanages, but they were screened off in cribs where they couldn't see or hear other humans, and they weren't cuddled. These children did not thrive. And this brings me up to my next points. 3 of several influencers in the 1960s and 70s were actually 3 guys, but I know of 3 or 4 other women who were associated with this philosophy. Ashley Montague changed my life, anthropologist who wrote Touching the Human Importance of the Skin. His book was a treatise on how animals birth their young and how they respond to their young when they're born, and how stimulation of the baby's skin is necessary for development, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. The nurturant needs of children were important, he stated, and he showed. Some of you have heard of and remember Dr. Benjamin Spock. He was a kind of a guru whose influence lasted many years. His ideas were pay attention to what a child needs and not worry about spoiling them. He believed we could listen to our instincts on nurturing babies and infants. It was called natural loving care, if we knew how. Our own Dr. Murray Ankin, some of us remember him well. Murray was a medical researcher, reformer, and he had a huge influence on birthing practices in Canada and beyond. He promoted family-centered childbirth, and I could talk 2 hours about that. All 3 of these fellows focused on the family, not medicine, as key to child rearing, and all were condemned because they swam against the prevailing tide of medical practices. Family is important, and I see us as a family, and relationships are the key to the future of individuals as they grow and mature. Orcas, our cousins out here in the Salish Sea, also known as killer whales, have significant post-reproductive lifespans. Whereas most animal species die when they are no longer able to reproduce, female orcas live much longer after they stop being able to reproduce. Because of this, there are grandmas and mothers who stick around to help raise the young, babysit and teach them hunting techniques, travel routes, etc. Our human grandmothers and grandfathers can be a great support for parents, and I see evidence of it all over Victoria. Thank you. Our next song is One